This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, I think yesterday, I think this already we developed, right? So let me open the component, developer console. Also, maybe let me open this mockup, the document. So far, when you click on preview, I think we are able to choose this. Click on save and next, and it is saving, and we are automatically renaming the button label and also changing the heading, right? And in these places, whatever the components we are going to develop, we need to place those components, right? Now today, let's focus on this one. First, we are going to create a component where we show some of the actions. For example, providing option to delete, providing option to download as Excel, right? Export option. Delete and export, those two actions we are going to add. And I'm going to maybe in future, there might be a need to add few more actions. Okay. We are going to maintain that in a separate component and the table. Okay, so based on the previous screen, whatever the courses are selected, those courses we query in the database and get the corresponding fee and duration, all the information. Okay, for that one of the component. So first we focus on creating this, and after that we create this and add both, and later we see how we can establish the communication between those two components. But yesterday I think we worked on closing this, right? So closing this, that part we work. Okay. Now let's maybe work on that. If you see this mockup, we are done with the first screen. And also after saving, I think we are seeing this. We are also done with this. On click on estimate fee, this pop-up will display. Still we need to do that. We'll do that. And after saving, already we developed this screen. In the same screen, we are going to add. So one component is to show this delete and export. One more component to show the table and the summary. We are going to create the two components. Now I'm going to develop this one, course data table actions of the component. Okay, so go to the VS Code, press F1, Aura component, give the name of the component. So this is the component. Now our goal is achieving similar to this, right? Showing two buttons and like that I want to show. That's the main goal. For that, to show actually these are like it is like a button group. Okay. To show that, what we can do, we can go to the Lightning component library. So maybe we have one of the standard component called Lightning button group. We are going to make use of that. Okay, so under Aura Lightning button group. So inverse button group, this is what I want. Okay. So all I'm going to do, copy this, copy and paste here, right? So it's very easy. Copy, paste, and since as per the markup, we need to show delete and export two actions. Maybe in future, we'll add few more actions as per the requirement. These two are the actions. Okay, and also if you see this class, if this style class is not starting with SLDS, the meaning is it is not part of the Lightning Design System styles. I think in this example, if you see the CSS, so I think for the background, so this is the style applied. Yeah, I want to make use of the same thing. Since I also want that copy in the style.css in this current component, we have CSS here I am giving. Okay. So if you want to apply the style for the direct child of the component, we don't give any space. This is to apply the style to apply the background for this entire div. Okay. Now, so far, let's see how it is looking. Right. I think it's better to deploy the entire component bundle. Okay. I'm deploying the entire component bundle. And also, for us, since we want to see the preview, maybe here, for now, I'm just commenting. We'll uncomment that later. And our component name, I think courses data table action, right? That I'm referring in the test tab to see the preview. Okay, so far it is showing like this. But maybe wherever we place, maybe this reusable component, I can add on top of any of the table going forward in the project wherever we show. Maybe based on some of the place, these buttons might be in middle, should be in middle, or should be at right side, something like that. Yeah, so I want to control where this should be displayed. Okay, and I want to provide the configurable option for that. Okay, so for that, so this button group, this I want to apply. I want to apply some style. Okay, directly you can use style attribute, but for button group exactly, if you want to use directly this lightning component, lightning button group standard component is not having any style. So really, if you want to apply the style, we have to define that in CSS and refer. Okay, let's say I want to apply here. Okay, this, but this is not the direct child of the component. Okay, so since that is not the direct child, we have to give the space and maybe style class name. I'll give like this button group left margin, something like this. This is the style class name I'm giving. Okay, and so here margin left, I'm giving, let's say 70%. Okay, so we are giving space because this here I want to use that class. This is not the direct child of the component. We need to give the space, and this is the style class name. So I'm giving margin left 70%. Okay, to apply this style, we need to refer here, right? Class, refer that style class. Okay, now deploy and see. Deploy.
Shenu, I did not understand by not being the direct child of the component.
Yeah, so let's say when you define the style classes here, right? Style class means we start with the dot, right? Dot and class name, and inside that we define the styles. This style class on the UI, wherever we want, we can refer and apply the style. So when I say direct child, if you see this div, which is in the line number 2, for this directly inside the Aura component, and this is not inside any other element, right? Directly for Aura component, this is the child, this entire thing.
Yes.
For this, if we are applying the style, we should not give space. If you see here, this style, here I am not giving the space.
Okay.
The reason why we don't give, if the element to which you want to apply the style, if it is direct child, in our current example, this div, line number 2, right? From
Okay.
here to here.
Mhm.
So I'm not giving space. But this style, whatever I defined newly, this one I want to use in the button group. Which is
Okay.
the parent for button group? Div.
Div.
Is inside the div. Not Aura component is not the direct parent. This is inside div, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Since this is not direct child of the Aura component, we have to give the space.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Now, thank you.
Yeah. Here, if you remove the space, it won't work. It's like that. You can play with that. Okay.
Okay. Mhm.
Now I'm deploying. Just refresh. It is mode, right? It is mode. Okay. So that is one of the thing. But this value, maybe there is one more way to apply the style. Let's say you don't want to use the style class. You want to make it very easy. So one more thing, what we do, we cannot use the style attribute for the lightning colon button group, which is a standard component. What I'm going to do, I'm giving div. Inside div, I'm giving div is a HTML element. For HTML elements, you can also use style attribute directly from here. You can apply the style. That is possible. Margin left, and here also I'm giving 75%. This will also give the same result. Okay, but what I want this one to be configurable. So maybe user can have the flexibility to supply how much margin they want to give for the buttons while including this. Okay, so here I'm defining some of the attributes. So here are a attribute name, buttons, margin, type, string. By default, I'm giving, let's say, 80%. Okay, so by default 80% I am giving. Wherever in other component we refer this, we also have the capability to replace that with whatever the margin we want, right? Now this one here dynamically I want to refer, right? So maybe I'm giving this and I want to maybe refer dynamically here, okay? For that, what we do, we need to keep that in dynamic expression. From here to here, it is static. Okay, this is static. That means that there is no change. Always it will be same. But this one, v dot the attribute name, right? Whatever the margin we supply, that much. We can maybe supply in pixels, percentage, and whatever we want. Okay, now just save this one. Okay, now it is okay. So far, now it is looking fine. Now, what should happen? This component and the one more new component, whatever we are going to create, both we keep, we don't maintain in the same hierarchy, right? We are not keeping that as a field for these actions or something like that. Now, these are parallelly included. These two components are not in the same hierarchy. Those are parallelly added within one of the applications. So that time, so whatever happens here in this component, if there is a event fired in this component cannot handle. The reason is it is not in the component hierarchy. In order to handle like that, there should be a hierarchy, right? This should be inside that, something like that in a hierarchy, it should be there. So we cannot go with the component event. If you see in our previous example, I think we fired one of the component event, right? So between the which components, if you go back and see for the pop-up, right? So courses selection is the component. The courses selection component is child in the demo registration component, right? So that means in the demo registration component, this is the demo registration component. In that, sorry, let me open the UI. And so under demo registration component, courses selection is a child component. That's why there was a scope for us to fire the event from the courses selection, and that event is handled by demo registration. Child and parent, the hierarchy is there. But in our current example, whatever I'm going to mention, we are going to keep these two components like this, which are not in the same hierarchy. So that time when some event is fired in this, in order to handle here, the component event won't work. Okay, in these kind of situations, we have to fire the application event. If you fire the application event, even though the components are not in the same hierarchy, okay, so side by side like this, if the components are referred, anywhere in the application, system will be having the capability. The other components can handle the event, the application event. We need to fire the application event. Application event can be handled by any component within the application. Okay, so it's like more scope, more open to handle by any other component within the application. Okay, so for this, we need to do that. Now, so why I am explaining, so we are going to fire, go to that courses. Now, whatever the component we are developing, this one, courses data table action. So this is the component, right? So from here, whenever we click on this button, in order to notify to the component which we are going to develop, I'm firing the application event. Okay. So in this project, this is one of the scenario where why we should use the application event. Okay. Now for this, I'm first creating a application event. Okay. Maybe to focus on the other things, let me close others to focus more on this. So far, I think this is deployed. Let's cross check. It is deployed. Now, here we have a plan to fire the application event. Okay, for that first we need to create the application event. So maybe here we have listed some of the components what we are going to develop. So as per this, for the data table actions, here somewhere I also mentioned, from here we are going to fire the event, application event. Okay, so this component I am creating. That is a Aura event we need to create, right? Aura event. This time it should be the application event. Application event fires from this courses data table action, which can be handled in courses data table component. Okay. Now, so what exactly want to supply? What I want to supply? There are many buttons, right? So which buttons the user clicked? When you see this UI, we have delete, we have export, maybe some other actions when you include. Which button the user clicked? That button name I want to send as a parameter while firing the event. Okay, which kind of action they are doing? Are they doing delete or export? Because let's say when the user click on delete, we supply delete. When the user click on export, we supply export. So since we want to supply that, I'm defining one of the attribute, Aura attribute, name of the attribute. Let's say I'm giving the name as action type and data type string. Yeah, I'm giving like this. Okay. So this is the event. Okay. So this is the event. We need to fire this event from this data table actions. Right. So for that, so here application event, right? The event name. This is the name of the event. Application event registration. Here we are registering that event in the JS class and in the JavaScript controller. We are going to file it. Okay. To register Aura register event. So here no need to give any name, right? For application event directly we can mention the event type. Okay, so here C colon, our event name is this one, right? So that's it. So this is the event name. Okay, so this is how we register. So if it is a component event, we also need to give name. Okay, so here no need to give. Now, when exactly we want to fire? When we click on one of this button. Okay, so here on click, for both buttons I am going to call same function. Okay, let's see how we can handle it. Here C dot, so I'll say handle button click or something like this. Okay, this is the name of the function. Either delete or export. When we click, this function will be called. Okay, in the controller, go to the controller. In the controller, I am defining the function with that name. This one I want as component, and here we need to find the application event, right? Application event. To find the application event, we say $a dot get. How we fire toast, right? Toast and some of the standard events in the same way. $a dot get e dot, this time C colon, since it is our custom component, C colon custom event, right? This is the event. Okay, so this one I'm storing in application event. Okay, we need to set some parameters, right? Dot set params. So here I'm setting, when we created, what is the name we give. Maybe I'm opening that event. This is action type. That value I want to supply, right? So that will be which button we click, right? We don't know. For both buttons, we are calling the same function. How we know which button we clicked, right? So far we discussed many examples. How we know which button we click? I want the label of whatever the button we click. So what we need to use here? We need that
Component dot find.
component dot find. But component dot find when we have the Aura ID, right? When you have Aura ID,
Yeah.
do you want to give Aura ID for both? But how we know which is clicked? We don't know which button the user clicked. Sorry?
Differentiated, right?
Sorry, can you come again?
If we give different IDs to both buttons, it will identify, right?
But see, let's say for this I'm giving ID as delete. For this I'm giving ID as export. But how we know which button we click? So when I click on this
The
export
label?
button, label, yeah, that's fine. But how we get that label? That's the question. Now, when you have
So you
5
find
buttons,
you find using the same ID and then get label, something like that.
yeah, understood. First of all, we don't know, right, which button I click. So when I know the ID and I can find the label. But we don't know user will click on which button. We don't know which ID. How you know based on ID which button it is clicked? Okay, so if you remember, so far we handled that in many places. That is like a browser event, right? On click, on change, all those are the browser events. To handle the browser events, that too when our target is one of the standard component, we use event dot get source. If you see our previous examples, okay, in many places we use this one. Okay, if you want, you can do the search. This is our project, right? I'm searching, right? So in some couple of components, our recent component, I think the other components we use it many times, right? So these kind of things we should know. Okay, so this will get that button which we click. It can be either delete or export, right? We have this entire element information. Now Based on this, we can get the label. Right? Dot. Here, this is also like a component, right? This is a standard component, which is lightning button, right? From the component, it can be a standard component or custom component. From the component, if you want to get the attribute value, we use dot get. We supply v dot name of the attribute. Now we know. Now we know that we want label. We'll say dot. Okay. So constant button label. Right. That only I'm supplying as this. It can be export or delete. That we are assigning to this. While firing, we supply this button label, which button the user click. So that when this is handled in other component, they know that the export action is performed or delete action is performed. Okay. So finally, we need to fire it. Fire it like this. And that's it. Now let's save this one and click deploy. Here there is some name is required on the tag register event. Okay, so here our register event, the name is required. Okay, let's give name. Giving some name. Okay. Then it's better to deploy the entire component. Deploy. So now it is deployed. Now, so let's see. I think this one we get to know. Really, this is propagated to the other component or not. When we complete developing the other component, we get to know. Okay. For now, we are done with this component, what we decided. Let's create the other component, and in that component, we are going to handle this event. Okay. So first, I'll do that event handling part before we forget. Later, we work on the functionality of the other component, whatever we are going to create. Okay. So now we know that other component name courses data table. This is what we are going to create. So copy. So press F1. It is a Visualforce, sorry, Aura component. I'm giving this name. Okay. So since we forget, if you implement the functionality and handle the event later, now first I'll focus on handling that event. Right. So here I'm adding handler. Handler to catch at whatever identify the. So this is the event courses application action event, which is application type. Which is fired from data table actions component. Okay, just this is to know why we are writing. Okay, now here to handle we use Aura handler. Okay, so here no need to give the name. Okay, so directly we have to mention. So what is the event? C colon. This is the name of the event, right? So once this is detected, what is the kind of action you want to do, right? So here I am calling one of the method handle application event. We are going to define one of the function in the controller.js. Okay. Now in the controller.js of this component, go to the controller.js of this component. From the handler, we are giving this name. This is the function it will call. Simply to catch that parameter, to catch the parameters, we use event.get. So the parameter name, if you see this, what is the name? This is the name, action type, right? In the controller.js, whatever that parameter, we catch it. We catch it, and here I'll say action type, whatever the action they are doing, I'm just storing into that. And for us to simply know, I'm just printing in the log so that we know what is the button the user click. Okay. So now save it. For now, just we don't have logic, just we are handling that event. Okay. Deploy. So it is deployed. Now go to this application. Here in this application, both are included, right? This time saving. When you see the preview, anyway, the data table, nothing is there, the markup. Internally, when we click on this button, what will happen? When we click on this delete or export button, the component for that is this one, right? The component for that is this one. Still, why we are seeing in red color? Make sure that it is really saved, deploying. It is somehow deployed. Yeah, anyway, it is deployed. Okay. So now here we have register event, we have the application event. We click on either delete or export. When we click on that, it is going to call this one. Here we are getting which button we click at that label, and we are firing the application event. Now the other component here, with whichever is there within the same application, it is going to handle. So here we have handler catching that application event, and handling, it is going to call this. As a final result, all we need to see, we have to see this printed in the console, the browser console. Okay. So here, click on this. Now we see everything is working properly. This is a different component. Here in the console log, whatever we are printing is a different component, which are not in the same component hierarchy, different hierarchy, right? So the application event, whatever we are firing, is working fine. Okay. Now let's focus on what we do in this current component. In the current component, the plan is, if you remember, before to this, the previous screen for this component is courses selection. From that courses selection, to do some functionality in this component, what exactly we need to supply? We need some attributes to supply to this component. Okay, attributes. So one of the attribute, we need record ID. So whatever the registration is there, the registration record ID we need, because we need to delete some of the selected courses previously. To do such kind of things, we need the record ID of the registration which was saved previously. Okay, so to accept the record ID, so Aura attribute name equal to, I'm giving record ID, type equal to string. Okay, the purpose of this one is this should be supplied from the courses selection component. Okay, after selecting courses, save and next. When they click on save, those courses are saved into database, and that ID into which registration the courses are saved, that ID we need, that should be carried forwarded to here. That's why we need this attribute. And one more attribute, so which courses they have selected. Okay, let's say they have selected admin and development. Those two courses we need to catch here. Okay, for that again one of the attribute selected courses. Right. So all courses I think separated with the semicolon. From the previous component separated with the semicolon, those courses will be separate. Okay. So to work on this component independently, now we are assuming later once we complete this, we connect from previous component to here exactly. Okay. Now again going back and again looking there to avoid the confusion. Here we are assuming, but later in reality how we supply we will see. Okay. Now here to proceed further and do our job for this component, as a default, right? So I'm giving some value. Okay, otherwise we cannot continue our job, right? So let's say admin and dev. So these are the two courses supplied. So from the previous courses selection screen, let's say this is the string it is supplying. For now I am giving default, later we will remove. Okay. Now our main goal here, based on this courses selected, we need to get the details of these selected courses from the database. Which details? What is the fee? What is the duration? Maybe syllabus or whatever. All those details we need to bring and display in one of the table. Okay. So for that, to do that, first of all, in the database where this information is there, that we have to have the clarity. Okay. Now we are going to, let's say, create one of the custom metadata type. There are only limited courses, maybe 4 or 5 or 10, hardly 20. Okay. So when you have the limited data, and if you want to refer the data again and again, so we use custom metadata type, which will store the information in the application cache memory, and accessibility is very faster when compared to the custom object. Now to proceed further, so we need to have one custom metadata with all the information what we need. Okay, so here go to custom metadata type, click on custom metadata type, click on new custom metadata type. Okay, so here I'm giving the name as, let's say, course info, plural label, courses info, save. In the standard label, right, in the label we are going to give the course name. Okay, to hold the duration and to hold the fee, we need two fields. So click on new, and here one of the field, click on next, fee, right? Fee, click on next. So number, I think we don't have currency type. Okay, that's why I'm choosing number. Save and new. If you see, we don't have the currency type in this. That's why I'm taking number. And the duration in days, that is also a number. Number, duration in days. Okay, so click on next. That's it. For now, let's say we need only this information. Okay, now let's insert some data. In the custom metadata to insert, click on manage, click on new, I'm giving admin fee, let's say I'm giving something like this, duration, let's say 30 days, save and new, div fee, let's say I'm giving 60,000, duration 60 days, save and new, Aura 30,000, duration 30 days, LWC, duration 30 days, like this I'm giving. Okay, and also go back to that, click on manage records. I want to see all other fields also in the same view. That's why I'm creating one view, replacing the standard all view with our custom all view. Here I'm also adding courses and fee, showing this view to everyone. Now we have this information, right? So these details. Now what we do, we query from this custom metadata. Let's say in the courses selection screen, if the user choose admin and Aura or admin and dev, we query for that and show that information in a table format. Okay, that's what we do. Now to query on this, we should know the API name. We are going to query. Okay, for that we should have one of the server method created. Okay, to support this table. To support this table to write some logic, we are going to connect this one with one of the Apex class. Okay, in that we are going to query for this. Okay, the class name also, I think in our documentation, we see courses data table controller. Maybe I'm following these exact names so that when you refer this documentation, you can see whatever we developed is matching with this. Okay, and create a class. Anyway, we are going to create the class with this name, right? With this name, and in that we are going to refer this custom metadata. So first, let's create the class. Apex class. This is the class name. Now in the class name, so whenever the table is displayed, when the table is displayed from the previous courses selection screen, we supply admin dev Aura some of the values, right? Based on that, on load of that table, right? On init, right? With the Aura init, we are going to call this server method, and this method should return based on the courses. It has to return that information from the custom metadata. Now this is the API name for the custom data. So here what we assume, get courses. So let's say this is the name of the method, and we are going to return map of string comma object. We accept this map of string comma object as input. This is what we return is equal to new. By default, I'll say is success false. And we just return this. This is the skeleton part. Okay, now what we need to assume, they are going to supply the courses, the string, right? Admin semicolon dev, whatever the string is there, that will be supplied. Right. So here selected courses from the input map dot get. Let's say with the same label selected courses, we get one of the key and value, corresponding value. Since we get in the object format, I'm typecasting. Now this will be having the courses. Maybe you can also maybe to see further in the log. I'm printing in the log. Okay, so we get all this thing in admin semicolon dev semicolon like that. But I want this in a list format, right? List. So I'm taking string, taking a list courses. So here it is in string with the semicolon separated. But we need that in the actually set format we need. Okay, I don't want duplicates anyway. So while querying, I want that in the set format. Or you can also use list. It's up to you. New set string. Now here, which is in the string format, semicolon separated. In Apex, if you want to split the string into a list based on a particular character, we use split by semicolon. So when you split by semicolon, what will happen? Wherever the semicolon is there, before that value as one element, and after that whatever the value is there as one element, like a list. System generate a list. So that list I am assigning to this. Finally, in this courses, we have that list, whatever is selected. Okay. Now here I am checking if the courses dot size is greater than 0. At least one course is there. I'm going to query from the custom metadata. What is the API name of the custom metadata? This one. We need to query from that. Select for now I'll say ID from this is the custom metadata. But which fields we want from the custom metadata? The course name. The course name will be in the label. The API name for the label is master label. Okay. Master label, that is the name of the course. And we need the duration and the fee. Duration, and this is the fee, API name. Right? But we don't want all information. Right? Where if this course name, right, master label is nothing but the course name, in matching with one of the courses supplied. Right? Now, all this information I am going to return. Okay, so for this output map dot put, so I'll return like courses. Okay, and as a value the query. Whatever the records it queried, it will add to that, to the map, the key is courses. Okay, so that's it. Finally, once it is done in our JS controller, we get this as a response. Okay, so since it is entered and if it is queried, I'll say is success is equal to true. Everything is done. I'll say is success is equal to true. Okay, so now we are done with this logic. So quickly we need to call, right? So already calling these methods and all these things we discussed many times. This time I'll quickly type that. Okay, so go to our data table component. So here we are planning, we are going to call this from the value init, from the handler. So do init is the function name I'm giving, and function. So here component and the event and the helper giving. Already this is connected to that class, right? Now we also know the name of the method. I'll say action is equal to component dot get name of the method, c dot name of the method, this one. To this we need to supply input map. Input map is equal to into this with the name selected courses, right? In the class if you see, it is expecting with the name selected courses. Go to this controller, to this. In the attribute from our previous component, the courses will be supplied. I'm getting that component dot get v dot get from the previous component whatever courses supplied we are getting. Finally, for this method whatever we are going to call set params. The parameters in the object format we need to set. Our method is accepting parameter with this name. So this whatever we constructed, I'm supplying to this. Finally, calling $a dot enq action, call that. To handle the callback, we say action dot set callback. This accepts to inputs this and function, and this is a callback function, the response. And I want to know what is the state. State is equal to so response dot get return value if the state is equal to success.
Isn't it get instead of get return value in the state? Response dot.
Yeah. So it should be get state, right? We need first a state. So else console dot log exception with state, and also I want to print that error response dot get error. In case of failure, in case of success, everything is fine. Whatever we get is that map, right? Output map is equal to response dot get return value. This is what really what the method returns, right? If the attribute, if here it is success, map dot is success. His spelling is correct, right? Okay, so that time. So finally, what we get here, right, output map dot courses, right? So here what we are returning, the courses. The courses, I'm just keeping here. This one we need to show on the UI. To hold that, I'm defining one of the attribute. Okay, courses to show in the table. Defining one of the attribute courses. And this is list type. Whatever we got from the server, I'm setting into that attribute component dot set v dot to that attribute, whatever result we got, I'm setting. Now, all we need to do, show that information in the table. Right? Okay, since we don't have time, we do that tomorrow. Okay. Tomorrow, maybe we progress on this. I think it take 2 days to complete this project. Okay. Later, I have one more example to understand about. It is very, very common in most of the projects when you show the table, implementing the pagination, right? So showing record level actions, click on one of the action, deleting a record, showing a pop-up where you can edit the record. So that is one more small project. I think next week, 3 days, we complete that, and later you can maybe take few days to watch the JavaScript videos. Later to that, 1 week we discuss about JavaScript and continue further. Okay. Any questions before ending today? So I think I'm going to commit this. Yeah, so only with the practice we can, technically, it's easy only. But due to many files in each component, somehow we will be confusing. So what I recommend, just a note down from where to where we go. As per that steps, if you try to develop, or when you see some existing components, write somewhere what is the primary component from where to where it is going. So if you can identify that, it will be easy. Okay, only that thing is confusing. But development wise, it is not much. If you see same thing again and again, calling this method, I think 10 times we did, right? So 10 times when you type like this, obviously we'll remember. Okay, so that's the thing. Yeah, anyway, we'll continue tomorrow. Before ending, any questions? Okay. Yeah, maybe exactly practice what we discussed. The other things are secondary. Okay. Automatically, those things you can do. Only the thing practice. Okay, we'll continue tomorrow. Thank you.